Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Seuss caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SeussCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages as we celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you are inspired by today's show, and I actually hope you're doing well in this time of chaos and confusion, and that the school year has started smoothly in spite of everything going on around us. Take a moment with me, take time out with me, just to settle in, and breathe. If you're listening from home, settle into your body right now. Gently close your eyes and relax. Take a gentle breath all the way deep into your belly and slowly let it out through your mouth as if you're pushing the air out through a straw, kind of like a flutist. Keep doing this gentle breathing exercise as you focus on the muscle that is the most tensed in your body and request that it relax. On the next breath, focus on the most relaxed muscle in your body and invite the others to be just as soft and relaxed as this one is. Let a wave of peaceful energy flow over your body as you allow your body to relax and your mind to take you to one of your favorite memories. It could be time walking along a peaceful beach with the sun warmly shining overhead. It could be a time of meandering along a mountain or forest path with the sounds of the wind blowing through the trees. It could be a time digging in your garden or working on a craft or a home project that gives you joy. It could be a favorite memory of singing or dancing or playing your favorite musical instrument. It could be a time remembering being surrounded by family and friends with the sounds of laughter filled with positive energy. No matter where you are or what you're doing, you have the ability to shift your thoughts to be more positive by controlling a runaway mind. Focus on those things that have given you joy in the past and bring them into this moment. Allow your body to feel the shift in energy as you hold the light of a higher vibrational frequency of peace, joy, happiness, and love. Music is one of the tools that can shift your energy. I often have positive musical energy playing in the background that keeps my vibrational frequency high. And in a few moments, you're going to meet someone who creates amazing music. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. And as we deal with challenging situations and people, especially as parents of children who struggle with life, we need to find ways to keep both ourselves and our children's energy uplifted. Personally, my now grown children have been my greatest teachers. Their struggles to fit into this world caused me to seek hypnosis to shift my own mind talk years ago. It was also one way that I was able to help them with their issues navigating uncomfortable waters. I recently saw a cartoon that showed multiple animals sitting in a row: a monkey, an elephant, a fish, a giraffe, a horse, a turtle, and some others. And they were being given a test, and the caption read, "In order to be fair, we're going to give you all the same test. You will be graded on your ability to climb that tree." So you could see the monkey was all excited. But what about the others? They all have unique gifts and talents, but we're not all the same. We all need to be tested, graded, encouraged based on our own gifts. So the mother of an indigo son with a brilliant mind, he had a different learning style and he did not fit into the norm. I know the pain of his being exposed to tests like this. Labeled as ADD, it was a challenge to see him defeated by the expectations of his teachers. A photographic memory, he could ace every test. Yet homework and projects were his downfall. Instead of allowing him to succeed in the way his mind wanted to, his report card showed him failing. These ways of evaluations have hopefully changed somewhat. However, the devastation of seeing him come home from school feeling defeated instead of challenged caused me such sadness in my heart. As a mother, we want the best for our children and feel as if we have let them down when we can't make things better for them. He is now wonderfully successful at the age of 33, and I am incredibly proud of how he has risen above the struggles that he encountered in his life. On the other hand, my daughter was smart, sharp, outgoing, and stunningly beautiful, which made her the target of jealous girl bullies. In high school, she was so scared to go to school because of the threats they made against her. She had a different school-based issue with her peers, which caused much emotional upset as she tried to fit in. Ultimately, she homeschooled herself with an online mentor and thrived in that independent situation. She is now a respected executive in a large corporation. Many prayers and emotional support techniques have helped all of us through to the other side. There were amazing people along the way that helped me as a single mom to navigate the uncharted waters of raising unique children that had been through much drama and trauma. At the depths of my despair, one wise mother told me to see my children at 25 and successful. As I adopted this method of thinking, I let go of the illusion that there was something wrong with them based on the situation of the time. As I embraced and believed this to be truth, that is exactly what happened. They are both successful, happy, and healthy, and I could not be more proud of each of them. And I'm blessed now to be able to use what I learned from them to help many children, along with their parents, to navigate the path of helping their children to succeed. And I'm in awe of parents who steadfastly support their children through the devastating effects of things like diseases like Lyme and other debilitating situations that cause them to be different. I'm also excited to let you know, side note, that my Chronicles of Hope softcover books have arrived this week. And I've sent the first signed copies out to many. So you can purchase a signed copy at thechroniclesofhope.net. This book contains inspiring messages to help you keep your energy strong and uplifted whatever challenge you're facing, especially in these times of global chaos. You may also join us at our Inspiring Hope community gathering via Zoom on Thursdays at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock Eastern. Please join us and help us as catalysts for positive change. We must shift the energy of our world toward hope and peace before it's too late. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. And today, I am so excited to introduce a mother who is an accomplished musician, a flutist, who has played on the New York stage around the world. And even this month, you were on the New York stage. That's amazing. And she's also been through the challenge of raising a child with autism, and is passionate about helping parents navigate raising their children with challenges. Lifting our energy today with her amazing music and sage advice, owner of Sprouting Healthy Families, please help me welcome Rebecca Jeffries, musician and parent coach. Welcome. Thank you. And I'm so glad you're here in the studio with me.
Thank you, Lois. Your story at the front was so inspiring. And I think that in itself just will give parents hope that, they can really raise some beautiful adults.
We can.
Even when the kids are having some big challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're right. And the problem is that we start to feel guilty, and we feel, and then all we do is we bring the energy down.
Correct.
So we have to learn to keep our energy strong, and sometimes it's hard as a parent to keep our energy up so that we can help them.
Absolutely.
Watch them go through their struggles.
Yes. I think one of the earliest lessons I learned from my child was that if I fed off of his anxiety, I was not going to be helpful.
Exactly.
And so it has become a 20-year journey for me as an adult to reevaluate how I am controlling my emotions, how I'm reacting situations, and how I can choose to vibrate in a more positive way to be more of a help and an inspiration for my child and for the people around me. Because honestly, if my behaviors are negative, it's of course going to impact my child, but it's going to impact my spouse and anyone that I'm working with. It really has a huge ripple effect.
You're exactly right, because we were just talking earlier. We are, a drop in a pond, and when our frequency, our vibration, our energy is lowered, we lower the energy of people around us. So if we can each do what we can to keep our energy uplifted and strong, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we are making a difference.
Right. And I haven't always been so good at this. It's a lifelong struggle. But it's so important that it's worth working on it.
Absolutely.
All the time. I used to feel like when my husband is so stable. I'm so blessed by him.
Yes.
When my son would have a downward spiral,
yeah.
I would just hop on the back of him and ride with him, which was so difficult to avoid because that was just the interdependence I had come to know with him. That was, my husband likes to say that we never really were separated at birth.
As a mother, you're not.
No.
You have that energetic umbilical tie to your children, and you can sense and feel when something's going on with them.
Absolutely.
And we want to help them no matter what they're going through, no matter what age. We're always there.
Yes.
They may not know it, and
right.
there's times when they go through the phase of stay away from me with your weird stuff, Mom.
Yes. It's so true.
And yet they, at some level, they're happy to have us. They are sending them love, light, prayers, whatever it is.
Yes. And another thing I've learned from my son is how empathic young adults who struggle with the spectrum can be, incredibly empathic. And this really became apparent when he was about 10, and he could read my silence.
Yes.
Sometimes not always right, but he generally could. And he got so good at it that the teachers in the classroom started to realize that they couldn't pull the wool over his eyes for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually wrote into his IEP, be direct and honest with JJ.
Right.
Because trying to trick him to do something is going to backfire.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true. And they are, the more I have done a lot of my own research and reading to help raise my son. And these indigos, back then they were called indigos. There's rainbows, there's crystals, there's a lot of different labeled energies from a metaphysical perspective.
Right.
But they are very, very intuitive. And that was part of the problem that I found with my son, Peyton. Again, genius IQ, brilliant, was reading Greek mythology in the second grade.
Yes.
Just brilliant. But at school, what I found later,
Yeah.
I wish I knew it at the time.
Right.
Hindsight is always great. But when he would come home from school, he would be physically, emotionally drained. He
Drained,
just wanted
yes.
to sleep. I now look back and realize that as an empath, he was picking up on all of the negative energies of his classmates,
Right.
plus that pressure to perform and fit into the box they wanted him to fit in.
Right.
And he didn't fit into that box. And I accepted that he was unique and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So at home, he was able to relax and let it go.
Yes.
But then that meant that he didn't do his homework.
Yeah.
So he would get, ace the test at 100, 0 on the homework, 50% grade, which was
Yes.
so unfair.
Right.
So unfair.
Right. One of my struggles with the school years was that I was surrounded by other parents who had overachievers.
Yes.
They were playing soccer after school and then taking music lessons and then, acing their homework. And my son was just like yours. When he came home, he needed to just decompress.
Exactly.
Just decompress. And it took me a while to change my mindset and to understand that I can't press my expectations on him.
Sure.
Nor can I press the expectations of other families around me. My situation was different,
Right.
and my situation was perfect.
Yes.
It was our situation.
Exactly.
We needed to live through it in a way that was compatible for all of us.
That's a brilliant way of putting it, because we even as mothers, we compare ourselves to others and say, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
What can I do differently?
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you just embraced that we are different, we are unique. And I've embraced that now.
Yeah.
I have these wonderful conversations with my son where, I'm weird and I enjoy it. I am different.
Yes.
I am unique, and who wants to be normal?
Right.
But
Right.
I wish that I had embrace that more back then when I was raising him. Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of thing I'm hoping I can help other parents
Yay.
to get to, is to take perspective, to recognize when they're trying to raise a child according to some map that they've had in their head that doesn't fit the situation anymore.
Correct.
I was raised as a child who was expected to finish high school and get a 4-year degree and get a job and raise a family, and I kind of just siphoned myself right into that expectation.
And yet, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So I grew up in a very small rural town in New York State. Incredible little community, very supportive of the children who grew up there in whatever capacity they wanted to do. So I had been playing the flute since I was 10, and I knew really early on that was the direction I wanted to go with my life. So I became very competitive as a player. I played a lot of festivals. I built a resume. I started playing professionally by age 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then headed off to college to study music education, which is also a lot of child education and
Sure.
child development. All that is all in the same package, which is fantastic. But honestly, when I went to do my practice teaching in the larger classroom, I really didn't resonate with it.
Mm.
I did not resonate with it, but I did know that I resonated with one-on-one lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my method of teaching for the last 35 years. It's private lessons for students of all ages. I've worked with beginners and I've worked with 88-year-olds.
Yeah.
Anyone who's interested, I'm happy to help them achieve their goals.
And have you seen the music, the playing of an instrument? Have you seen that technique has helped to shift people's sense of self, of confidence, of energy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see for a lot of people, their music lesson is their hour in which they are focusing on one item, and they're not thinking about politics. They're not thinking about what's for dinner that night.
Right.
They're not thinking about the letter that came home from school.
Right.
They're focused on this one moment, and they can be fully present.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if there was one method I would give any parent, is to find that hour. That's so important for resilience and endurance, just in general, throughout your day, is to find that time where you can have a singleness of focus and really be centered on one subject.
And the focus is an actual participation. It's not like watching TV.
Absolutely.
Even if it's dance, if it's movement, or if it's playing an instrument, be it
Right.
guitar, violin, flute, piano, whatever, just take, or art.
Yes.
Just something to engage your mind in where you're feeling creative.
Right. Yeah, you can't even put a number on how rewarding that is and how healing that is.
Yes.
For me, since I had always been in music, that really wasn't my to-go-to thing. So horseback riding became my go-to thing.
Yeah.
So horseback riding takes a large amount of concentration and physicality. So for that 1 hour, I was transported. And when I would come off of my horse intentionally, there were occasional moments where I was not meaning to be off the horse.
Right.
I would be elated. Talk about raising vibrations.
Sure.
That would it could transform me from grumpy to just happy, happy, happy.
Well, and the horses have such a magical power about
They sure
them as
do.
well. And at some point, I should have my sister on the radio show. She runs a therapeutic riding academy. So I have long heard her stories of transformation
Yes.
of people who have. She started with CP children who had physical issues, and she now runs 2 different programs. One is also for people who have been through trauma and how they transform.
Yes.
The concept of not only riding but caring for the horse.
Yes.
There is the responsibility that
Yep.
that is involved. So yeah, horses are magical
They
beings.
are magical. And I had the pleasure one summer of going to camp with my son at a therapeutic riding barn. And we had kids anywhere from being fully blind and on feeding tubes
Wow.
to fully capable. It was a nice mix.
Right.
And that week was so transforming for me because you could really see the joy in the children when they were associating with the horses.
Sure.
Some of them could only feel it, that they couldn't see what they were doing, but they could feel the sensations,
Yes.
and it would always be uplifting for them. The woman who taught this camp was a genius, and she would come up with games where everybody could participate. We had a parade at the end, which was adorable. We decorated the ponies, we led them, we pushed people in their wheelchairs, some were in pony carts, and we were booming music, and I'm just crying the whole time because it was one of the most beautiful experiences
Yeah.
I had ever had.
And you could see your son and how much joy he was experiencing it.
Yes.
Yeah. How amazing.
Yeah.
There are so many different people doing these uplifting exercises and following their passion, things that
Right.
uplift them, that are offering to other people. Yeah. So
Yep.
is that someplace local, or is that
It was in Temple, New Hampshire. I'm not sure
Okay.
if it's still running.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I know that there's Upreach Academy in Goffstown. Is another horse, a therapeutic academy locally.
Yes, excellent.
But I do know of them, so yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey as a mother with your wonderful son.
So it was tricky.
Yeah.
I gave birth to a healthy boy, and there were no signs of, anticipated issues. But within the first few weeks, he wasn't thriving.
Oh.
So he spent a good portion of the first 8 or 9 years of his life thriving to just keep on weight. And striving to, find foods that worked for him. It was a struggle. It was a big
So he
struggle.
had some food sensitivities?
He was having food sensitivities. He was showing sensory issues. But we had never, as parents, had never been exposed to this.
Sure.
We knew that we had to accommodate him, because it was a pain for us. Oh my gosh, he's upset because there's a seam bothering him in his sock. So how can we
Sure.
anticipate this
Right.
and help him out? But we did not have an understanding that this was a nervous system reaction,
Sure.
reactivity. So my husband and I had a big learning curve. This was 21 years ago, and autism was not so on the forefront of people's minds. Even the pediatrician, when I asked her for help, she said, "I'll support you in any way you want." And I was like, well, I want answers. I want a sense of direction. I want help. But she had nothing for me. Nothing.
Yeah, they
So-
didn't know.
Yeah. So we were really just, clamoring
Mm-hmm.
to find information.
Right.
He struggled with public kindergarten. They suspended him for hugging people.
Mm.
It was considered an assault.
Oh my.
Yes. So I had one lawyer who was ready to take the case on. I was like, no, I don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
We repeated kindergarten at a Waldorf school,
Okay.
which was fabulous.
Yes.
He was given time there to be himself
Mm-hmm.
and to explore playing with other kids. We knew he didn't need the academic pressure. He could already read.
Mm-hmm.
He could count as high as anybody. So that was fine with us at that point to let go of the academic expectations.
Sure.
And once we did that, everything started to take a better sense of direction.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to, focus more on our attitudes, our level of acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
Our ability to shift our expectations, and our ability to really be his cheerleader instead of feeling sorry for ourselves because
Right.
our situation wasn't the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And once we did that,
Yeah.
the shift was fabulous.
Yeah.
It became a really pleasurable experience.
I have my own experience with the Waldorf school. My son, very similar to yours, was kicked out of kindergarten initially for the opposite. A trauma would happen, and if they accosted him too aggressively or something would happen, he might bite someone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it was a sensory overload, and that was
Right.
his defense reaction.
Right.
And there was a lot of different challenges like that. But when he got to high school and was really struggling, I ended up taking all of my retirement and placed it in the Waldorf School High Mowing in Wilton.
Right.
And he went 1 year. That was all I could afford. It made a huge
Yes.
difference for him.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Because they allowed him to learn to express how he needed to. It was
Right.
amazing. And then that helped him to reset for the rest of his high school. That
Right.
was the one that I wish that I had been able to afford to continue
Yeah.
him there. But they do have a powerful recipe.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree. And I still, as I age, I appreciate their philosophy and technique more and more
Yes.
and more.
Yeah. Because they celebrate the uniqueness, the difference. I
Yes.
remember going in once and watching. There was a group room, and a parent could go upstairs and in a balcony and observe.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, the teachers had to have the patience of Job. Here's the teacher delivering, and some of them are knitting, others are talking, others are
Right,
doodling.
right.
They're doing all these different things, and the teacher just keeps giving them information. And what they explained to me is these type of learning, the way that these children learn is they have to keep themselves busy with something
Absolutely.
else, and then they're taking everything in because they do have that heightened sensitivity.
Right.
So they're absolutely taking in what the teacher says, but if they're expected to sit on their hands and be still,
Yeah.
then their mind is going to go elsewhere.
Right.
So they had the whole technique of combining that mind-body
Right.
exercise. It was
Right.
brilliant. And
Yes.
yeah.
I think, if you understand that as the parent, you can help with it at home. You can help advocate for your child better if they are in public school. We had that written into his IEP that he would be allowed to sketch while listening.
Wonderful.
Because a lot of teachers kept saying he's not paying attention because his eyes were down, his head
Right,
was
right.
down. I said, well, you stop and ask him what you're talking about. And he would repeat it back to them verbatim. And they're
Verbatim.
like,
Yes.
okay, he's getting it.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Let him sketch.
Exactly. Yeah. My son learned to knit.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Knitted a hat and different things. Yeah.
Right?
It was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have actually you had a career as a musician, though.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about. Let me just interrupt you just for a second to let our listeners who just tuned in to know you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, and I'm here with Rebecca Jeffries. We're here every Sunday morning with a different special guest. And Rebecca and I are talking about sprouting healthy families and teaching parents how to navigate the raising of a child with challenges. And this is WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. So, Rebecca, tell us a little bit. You have a career as a musician.
I do. So the beauty of being a musician and a mom of a child with challenges is that I'm pretty much my own boss. So I'm fortunate enough in that my husband is our main financial supporter, so I could take work as needed. I could stick to the jobs that were emotionally rewarding for me because I didn't have much left as the mom. You know, it can be pretty draining.
Yes, it can.
So if I were to just start taking wedding gigs and, you know, background music for parties, it would just not make me happy. So I started taking just the concert opportunities. And from there, it started to just take off, which was fantastic. So a lot of wonderful things were coming my way. But my favorite and most recent activity was 2 albums that I released, 2016 and 18. The first one is all living American composers, some of which are local to New Hampshire. And I worked with them all individually to design the pieces, sometimes just letting them choose what they wanted, and we tweaked it a little bit together. And then a gentleman, the producer of the album, was generous enough to provide his studio space, and I would go down to Philadelphia and record with this incredible piano player named Alexander Timofeyev, who's from Moldova. And it was such a rush because we would do rehearsal day 1 and then 2 days straight of recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
Intense,
exhausting, but such a high to the whole thing. So that first album went really well and got sent out to numerous radio stations and is still on the playlists for them all around the world. So we did another one. Second album focused on European and international composers. On that album, all are still living except for 2. One was from the 1800s, so he's long gone. And the other fellow passed away just before we published the album.
And what are the names of your albums? I have one of them here.
The first one is called Poems and Dreams, and the second one is called Friends in Common Time.
Beautiful. And I've been listening to them, and they're very uplifting, and they just make you smile.
Great.
I have one that plays in my car, and it just, you know, I'll tune into the radio and listen to that some, but sometimes the songs on the radio can be, very sad or angry. There's a lot of angry words in some of the songs. So I'm like, okay, no. We're going to switch over to Rebecca's song. Rebecca's music, and it's just, it's like dancing in the woods to me. It's light. It's upbeat. It's happy. Yeah.
My son has this funny conversations with his friends about music. They enjoy, which I love, they enjoy the music of the 70s and 80s,
Sure.
which is fantastic because that's, quality music in my mind. 60s, 70s, and 80s of the popular music.
Yeah.
But they don't understand instrumental music at all because there's no lyrics. They keep asking JJ, why would you listen to that? And he's like, because I love it.
Yeah.
But he's been listening to it since he was in my womb, so that's what he knows best.
Exactly. And I know there's such a thing as the Mozart effect.
Yes.
You could probably speak to that.
Well, I'm not sure how scientifically proven it is, but it definitely will not hurt your child to hear some Mozart when you're pregnant with your child. Any kind of wonderful classical music is only going to be a positive impact on your child.
Yeah.
So.
One of the things that I've heard about music, because I have a friend who was what she called a sound healer.
Yes.
And some of the classical music and the instrumental music, it actually, the different frequencies resonate with the different chakras.
Yes.
So she would tone, for instance, if your shoulder is hurting, you would have, the higher frequency at the crown chakra and the third eye, and you would start, ooh.
Yes.
And then you would lower it to where you could feel it resonating through your body.
Right.
So music actually has resonant frequencies that affect the physical body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes me sad that the audiences for live performances are dwindling because I think people don't understand that going live is when you really resonate with the music. You can feel a bass line in your feet.
Sure.
You can feel the energy coming from the string players in the front row. Just from the way that they're moving even and how they're applying the bow, it will just suck you in and get you so involved with what you're watching. So I recently at a concert I was playing, and one of the listeners said, I'd forgotten how lovely live music is. I started to cry. I was like, yes.
You're right. I've long attended live concerts. It's been a while. Ballets, or at Christmas time, I would typically treat my family to some sort of a concert, and we would often go down. We'd listen to, go to the Pops, go down to Boston,
Yes.
and listen to the different concerts, or even locally to the Palace Theatre in Manchester.
Yes.
And you're right. You walk away with feeling that it really resonates in your body. I never
Yes.
made that connection before, but it's true. There's such a wonderful energy that comes over you when you listen to all of the different musicians playing in an orchestra,
Right.
because they're each playing and resonating at a different part
Right.
of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to mention the huge amount of teamwork that goes into an
yeah, yeah,
orchestra.
yeah.
I mean, there's really a mind meld going on that stage. They have a conductor, but sorry, conductors, they don't really need you. There is, they have an understanding of what they're doing as a collective in
Sure.
producing this beautiful art form.
Absolutely. And they all are interdependent on
Absolutely.
one another.
Yes.
Yeah, and so a good collaborative musical group does not want to outshine the other. They
Right.
know just how loud to be, just how when to
Yes.
come in, because
Yes.
you want to meld as a team, as a group.
Right, right. And
Wow.
so much of that has to do with ego. One of my biggest frustrations as a musician is fighting with people's egos. This past weekend when I played a concert, these musicians were absolutely delightful because they had zero egos. They were all about the music. How can we best serve the music?
Nice.
And so we had only just met, and it felt like we'd collaborated for a lifetime.
Right.
Because we all had the common goal of really just producing something beautiful.
And that's how we should be with everything in life.
Yes.
That's how we should be. The ego consciousness is about how can we serve, and
Right.
how can we as a collective make something better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as we add I often equate each of us with our own unique gifts, as we have our one little thread in the fabric, and it just plays in with other people's threads and celebrating other people's gifts, because
Yes.
no two snowflakes, no two flowers,
Yeah.
no two musicians are alike.
Right.
Each of you, even though you're playing your instrument, you play it probably subtly different. Somebody with an untrained ear won't notice it,
Right.
but you probably have a different, unique style that you play.
Yes.
So would you mind to play a little for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I brought one of my folk flutes. This is a bansuri, which is a traditional Indian flute, and it was built for me
Really?
by a fellow in India. I think it's in the key of G. And so I'll start with a little scale, and then I'll just do a little improvise.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much. And while she's getting ready, I'm just going to let our listeners know that you are listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. This is Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, and you are listening to Rebecca Jeffries as she plays her beautiful flute. I have chills. I really do. Listening to music like that transports me, and thank you. How beautiful.
You're very welcome. That's part of the joy of music making, is sharing it with others.
And that's exactly right. We just need to find what gives us joy and then share it,
Yes.
share it, because you never know who you're going to touch.
Right.
It's like sharing a smile.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. So you are you're sharing your music, but you've also taken a little bit of a turn in your career.
Yes.
And you're launching a whole new path. Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
So tell us about that.
So my new company, Sprouting Healthy Families, which has sprung from my love for my child, is just opening its doors. I will be offering coaching sessions for parents who are struggling with their emotional health as they raise their child with special needs. Really, your mastery of your emotional health is going to help you to be a better advocate for your child, better communicator to their specialists, and just equally make for a beautiful, peaceful home. So the more we can help you understand your ego and how it impacts others, the more positive things will turn.
Absolutely. And so many parents get into their own inner drive to have their child be a certain way.
Right.
And once we accept that they are perfect the way they are,
Yes.
and celebrate that, then we let go of our need. That imposition,
Yes.
that's our stuff.
Yes.
And when we can let go of that and embrace who they are and relax into it,
Right.
it shifts our energy and theirs.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Sure does. It's pretty powerful. And I'm speaking from a lot of personal experience and a lot of deep digging and
Sure.
personal growth. And
Yeah.
I've seen how it can and really turn things around in your home.
So how do people find you? How do they reach out to you?
So my business name again is Sprouting Healthy Families, and it's a .com, so they can go right to the website. You can also look for my Facebook group by the same name, which is filled with all sorts of wonderful, positive people such as Lois. We don't focus just on parenting in this group, so I invite anyone who is looking for a positive outlook, for some lovely recipes, some health advice, come and hang out with us. We'd love to have your company.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I would highly recommend you do that. I'm a member of your group, and you actually have people on live podcasts or live...
Yeah, so every Tuesday I feature an interview with one of the members. That the group is called The Caretakers. And there's a couple samples on my website. In order to be considered, you just need to show that you're contributing to mankind in some positive way.
Yeah. So we're doing reciprocal things,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. And that's one of the things that I have been really delighted about this Inspiring Hope radio show. I have had the honor of meeting so many fascinating people, and as I get to know you and interview you, it's just it's that ripple in the pond just keeps spreading. There are so many positive people out there.
Yes.
And we need to support each other and be able to support those that have given up on hope.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So what do you recommend to people to stay inspired? Do you have any little tidbits that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would like to let the parents who are struggling with a new school setting this fall and maybe have their challenging children home more than they're used to know that there is support and there is help available to them, and that we're all in this together. You know, it's all new to us, so we're all trying to figure it out together, and none of us are an island. We should really be leaning on each other and helping each other out.
Exactly. Yeah. And there, it is amazing the different people who were there for me on my journey. And I had to, I would ask the universe I did a lot of praying. I used to pray a lot to Mary because she was the mother,
Yes.
and I could only imagine the trauma she went through at what happened
Right.
with her son. So I did a lot of praying and asking Mary, and it was like, I call them God winks. There were
Yeah.
little things that would happen in my daily life that I started noticing, and the people that would be placed on my path that I started noticing, just like I was sharing that my books were just delivered this week, and so I had several people who wanted autographed copies. I autographed them, put them in their nice little beautiful gold foil envelopes, went off to the post office, and as I got there, now I'm into numbers. How many of you see series of numbers, consecutive numbers? So the book is all about the eights, the unquietatus, the first ones. Anyway, I'm driving behind a car that has 888s.
Mm-hmm.
I pull into the parking lot. There's a car in front of me with 777s. The car next to me has 666s. So there's all these signs. They're God winks. They're just because 888 is infinity. It's all things possible. 777 is look to heaven. 666 is communication. So it was just I was surrounded by all this, and I was already kind of getting a little smile.
Right.
I opened the door to go into. This is just Amherst post office.
Yeah.
And the song Happy is loudly blaring out there, and people are kind of, dancing in the streets. Everybody's got masks on.
Yeah.
But there's a small little antique flea market going on. And it was just this spontaneous God wink, this joy, this little burst of positive energy. And we can take those. I sang that song in my head the rest of the day.
Aww.
It was just finding those little things that give us joy.
Yes.
Clinging to them. And in welcoming all of the people who have been down these paths,
Right.
like you have,
Yeah.
and the advice that you give. So
Yes.
reach out to Rebecca, those of you who are in the middle of raising a child, because it's important to have others that know from the heart how to help, because we are here for each other.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know I mentioned earlier that there are people who are going through children with debilitating illness.
Right.
And I look at these parents and they have to seek for other ways, holistic ways of healing, because the mainstream allopathic world often does not have the answers.
Right.
So they go through a lot, and I'm so impressed with the mothers, the parents,
Yes.
who support these children that are challenged by various different ways.
Right. Yeah. The amount of strength you see in them is amazing. But there's an underlying suffering that all of us
absolutely
experience. Yes.
Yeah. So there is definitely a sisterhood, brotherhood. There's
Yes.
a connection there.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So you have just recently read the Chronicles of Hope.
Yes.
So it was in that doing those sessions that I was inspired to host the show, because they said there are more good people out there. Shine the light on the good.
Yes.
Take away from the voices of the negative that are so loud. So what is your impression as you're reading the book?
Oh, I'm so enjoying this book, Lois. It is, things come to us when they're meant to, and I think this book is one of those things in my life right now. It's really helping me to get clarity on things that I've thought about before. And as the front of your book says, when you read this, you'll realize you've heard this before. But to have it all laid out for you is just an excellent, excellent tool. So as we're meeting these personalities of greater beings, we're learning a ton about ourselves that was there, but we're maybe not admitting. I have to say, one of my favorite people in the book was Jesus.
Yeah, of course.
Which my parents would laugh, because I never really embraced my Catholic upbringing. But at the same time, the messages that you discuss with Jesus have always been what's resonated with me.
Right.
And that his words have been mutated. His simple words of do unto others,
Yes.
as you would have them do unto you, are just that. They're simple. It doesn't need to be twisted. It doesn't need to be manipulated. It just needs to be practiced.
Yes. And that's what he said, is make these messages secular. They were never meant to be used for power and control, which is what, unfortunately, many original religious beliefs became. It was about controlling people,
Right.
and that was never his message.
Right.
One of my favorite quotes from him that he said is, speak the compliment out loud.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Oh, that really resonated, because, I was raised with parents that would, you don't say anything. You'll give them a big head. So you don't want to say
Yes.
anything positive to the child.
Right.
And it made the children from that generation, it made the children doubt themselves, lack of self-worth,
Right.
self-confidence,
Right.
all of that. And so he said, speak the compliment out loud. So when you see catch someone doing something good or positive, celebrate that.
Right.
Oh my gosh, your eyes just sparkle.
Yeah.
And it just shifts the energy of a person just to speak that
It shifts
compliment.
your own energy as well.
You're exactly
Yeah.
right.
So it's
Yeah.
a dual uplifting, which
Right.
is delightful.
Yeah, and that applies as we're talking about with children. That applies to what I have also learned through NLP, neurolinguistic programming. When you're with any child that gets lost in, say that they're so focused on a computer, they're playing a computer game or
Yes.
whatever. That's when you put your hand on their shoulder and you say, "You are so smart. You are so sharp.
Yes.
Once you finish that game, you're going to be able to ace your homework."
Yeah.
You give them positive instead of "stop doing that,"
Right.
which is what many of us were trained,
Yes.
is that negative programming. If you can shift it to say, "You are amazing,"
Right.
because when they're engrossed in a TV or a computer game, they're in trance.
Yes.
Anything you say to them at that point goes straight into their subconscious
Yes.
mind. So that's one of the tips that I give parents is catch them doing something. If they're in a trance state, just plant a positive seed.
Yes. That's often when I hug my son the hardest.
Yeah. Yes.
Just go in and wrap myself around him.
Yeah.
And he's been training me. He's like, "Mom, do you love me?" Now, of course, I'm like, "Of course I love him. Why would he
Yeah.
even question this?"
Sure.
But he's made it very clear. He needs to hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to remind myself to share that a lot because
Right.
growing, in my childhood household, you never said that.
Right.
So it's
Yep.
really a lot of retraining for me. But
yeah.
it's a good retraining.
And that's interesting because also from an NLP expert, from an NLP perspective, we each have different learning styles.
Yes.
So some people don't learn auditorily.
Right.
They learn tactily,
Yes.
kinesthetically, or visually. So telling them that you love them could be as much as giving them a card or a little
Right.
note that says, "I love you," so that they can
Yes.
see it, touch
Right.
it, feel it, or maybe they need a hug, or maybe you need to do something, leave a flower at their. I remember one of the things that I used to do was make a little note in their lunchbox, with just a little smiley face or something,
Yeah.
so that just to give them a little uplift in their day, because they all learn differently.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
And it's great that he's willing to ask for that. To
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah. He started advocating for himself.
Good,
Which is
good,
great.
good. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So good for you that you've taken what you've learned as a mother and you're helping others. And that's what a gift. What a gift for you and for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting me share this with others so that I can reach more people and hopefully help them turn things around in a positive light for them.
And that's what we need to do on this planet is hold the positive.
Yes.
Hold the positive light, because we live in an incredible place. We've just had a peace treaty signed, and it's just amazing the peace that's out there. We need to look for it, though. We need to watch and seek for it in our own hearts.
Right.
And surround ourselves by positive people, uplifting people.
Right.
And when we're around negative people, what I find is send them light, but kind of back away. Don't let them take your energy down.
Right.
You have to protect from the negative energy. Don't listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
Listen to the positive.
Right.
Get your news, get your information from people who you would trust, and not that are trying to sway you in one way or another.
Right.
Yeah. So, do you have any other insights? You just finished reading the chapter on Samael.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think what people first need to understand is Samuel is also known as Lucifer, which immediately makes people clam up and start to self-protect.
Yes.
And what Lois discovered and shares with us is that Lucifer is highly misunderstood.
Yes.
So if you hear him by the name Samuel, I think for me, I'm more open to him.
Exactly.
Of course, because we've been trained to have such a negative image of the other name. But that he's really about communication, and is more of a helpful spirit than any of us have ever been taught.
I know. I've learned to see him as kind of that tough love papa that, we learn, we grow through discernment.
Yes.
The caterpillar does not come out of the chrysalis without a lot of transformation.
Yes.
That we go through stress and strife in our life. You would not be doing what you're doing had you not gone through
Right.
everything that you did. I would not be doing what I'm doing if
Right.
I had not raised challenging children, been through challenging things in my life. led me into doing this, and we're coming to the end of our session. Thank you for being here with me, Rebecca.
It's been delightful.
I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you listeners for listening. Tune in next Sunday where I'll have another wonderful guest, and you can listen to all of them at bit.ly Lois Herman YouTube. All of these shows are recorded there. Meanwhile, till next time, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Thank you.